Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Senior. No matter where you're watching or how you're watching, we appreciate you for making NBA Now a part of your day. On the docket for today's show, going to react to ESPN's latest first-round mock draft with a ton of movement in the first round. Then also, I put together 30 pro comps for all of these prospects selected in ESPN's mock as I continue to do my own scouting evaluations. But first, we're going to be going live right here on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel for the NBA draft on Thursday, June 23rd. It's going to be here before we know it. Myself and Harrison Graham breaking down and reacting to every single selection over the 2 rounds. So make sure you subscribe and join us by hitting that red subscribe button down below. We start off with the top 5 from ESPN, and obviously now that Mike Schmitz is working for the Portland Trail Blazers, this coming from Jonathan Givony of ESPN. Some movement here in the top 5. Jabari Smith going number 1 to the Orlando Magic. That's the pick that I agree with. Has to work on his handle, but I love his upside. Chet Holmgren, I worry about the body, but he does have tantalizing potential, going to OKC at number 2. Paolo Banchero teaming up with Jalen Green, going to the Houston Rockets in that 3rd spot. Jaden Ivey to the Sacramento Kings at 4, and Keegan Murray to the Detroit Pistons at number 5. Here are my pro comps for all of these players. For Jabari Smith, I get shades of Michael Porter Jr., and if Michael Porter Jr. didn't have that back injury a couple years ago, he may have been the number 1 overall pick coming out of Missouri. Chet Holmgren, I get a lot of comparisons to Kristaps Porzingis. Has to work on the frame, but that slight frame does remind me of KP to a certain degree. Paolo Banchero, passing out of the high post, an array of offensive skills, has to get better defensively. My pro comp for him is Chris Webber. For Ja Morant and Jaden Ivey, the similarities are certainly there. Jaden Ivey is a less athletic Ja Morant, but he certainly has a lot of comparisons. And for Keegan Murray, he reminds me of Al Horford, but I actually think that Keegan Murray can run the floor a little bit better. He's a better all-around offensive player and a better athlete. I'm not going to compare him to Evan Mobley, but there are some Evan Mobley comps that are ringing in my brain by watching Keegan Murray as well. About a 40% shooter from downtown. As a big man, he was asked to do everything with Iowa. He certainly did that and more. If you're excited for the 2022 NBA draft, I am. I hope you are as well. And if that's the case, which it should be all of you watching right now, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Once again, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss our NBA draft coverage, as myself and Harrison Graham going to be discussing every single selection of the draft, which is Thursday, June 23rd. Then keep in mind, a week after that is the start of NBA free agency. That's why you hit that red subscribe button. Pick 6 through 10, Benedict Mathurin climbing up draft boards. I love him as a prospect, going 6 to Indiana. Shaedon Sharpe dropping a little bit, going to the Trailblazers at number 7. Dyson Daniels, the first G League player, going to the New Orleans Pelicans. They're going to need to develop him if that's the case, and if he goes to a place like New Orleans, he comes in off the bench, maybe that development will happen. Jalen Duren, uber athletic big man, going to the San Antonio Spurs at number 9, according to reports out there. They absolutely love Duren. And then Johnny Davis going to Washington. Some rumblings that Washington could trade out of number 10. We'll see what happens come draft time. Pro comps for all of those players who we just talked about. Benedict Mathurin, Karis LeVert, but I think he has more potential than him, but the body type is very similar. Dyson Daniels, Derek White, and I know that White is kind of suffering from a lack of confidence in the NBA Finals, but he's a really good player who is also a first-round pick. That's what I get from Dyson Daniels. For Shaedon Sharpe, it's Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, kind of a combination between two of them because he is a hyper scorer. Jalen Duren, Robert Williams, because he's a high flyer who doesn't really shoot the basketball at all, but can impact games with his rim protection, shot altering. Pretty solid passer like Robert Williams is, and has that all-around game down low in the trenches. Johnny Davis, a scoring Jalen Suggs. He was the best scorer, in my opinion, in college basketball last year. Jalen Suggs was a good scorer at Gonzaga, showed flashes of it with the Orlando Magic, but I think Davis has better scoring potential than Jalen Suggs. Feel free to make your own pro comparisons in the comment section right now. I have 30 cooked up for you today on today's show, but if you want to get into the comment section, you want to play the scout, feel free to do that. I know a lot of people out there like to make those pro comparisons, so do that in the comment section right now. We move forward to selections 11 through 15. AJ Griffin to the New York Knicks at number 11. I think he's going to go right in this range. Ousmane Dieng going to OKC from the New Zealand Breakers at number 12. Jeremy Sochan, one of my favorite prospects in this class, to the Charlotte Hornets at number 13. If that's the case, I think he plays right away. Ochai Agbaji going to the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 14, and Mark Williams going to the Hornets once again at number 15. So with the Hornets, you get two really good players. AJ Griffin, Jimmy Butler, and TJ Warren for me. Dieng, Evan Turner, but with more upside, has the length of Brandon Ingram, but I think it's disrespectful to compare him to B.I., who this past year is one of the best scorers at the NBA level. Jeremy Sochan, Ben Simmons, if he were to play the 4 spot, I also get shades of Draymond Green because he's one of those players that shows that not everything comes down to scoring, and he can impact the game in a plethora of ways. Agbaji, Jay Crowder, but more offensive potential. Jay Crowder, kind of a one-dimensional player who just chucks up a bunch of threes. Agbaji can do a little bit more than that. And then we're going to turn back the clocks for Mark Williams. I turned on the tape, and I was like, yo, that's Samuel Dalembert right there. Now, Dalembert with the Mavericks was bad. When he was a first-round pick coming out of Seton Hall for the Philadelphia 76ers, he was pretty solid. And if you get that type of player at the back end of the lottery, Mark Williams, that's pretty good value there. A lot of really intriguing prospects in this class. But I want you to name your number one favorite player in this draft in the comment section right now. Malaki Branham out of Ohio State going 16 to the Atlanta Hawks from ESPN. Tari Eason out of LSU going to the Houston Rockets, as once again they have multiple first-round picks to build around Jalen Green. Jalen Williams, high riser out of Santa Clara, prototypical 3-and-D guy going to the Chicago Bulls at 18. Walker Kessler, Defensive Player of the Year in college basketball, going to Minnesota to possibly back up Karl Anthony Towns. And then Blake Wesley, who's falling down some draft boards and is going later in some mocks, going to the San Antonio Spurs at number 20. He needs to develop. San Antonio Spurs, they do a good job of developing young and raw players. So you look at some of my pro comps for these players here, and Malaki Branham, you know, I get shades of a really good combo guard. Tari Eason, maybe some Robert Williams there. Jalen Williams is a guy who I think is going to be a prototypical 3-and-D player. You can kind of think Robert Covington with his ability to put the ball on the floor. Walker Kessler, Jakob Poeltl to a certain degree. And then Blake Wesley, really good athletic player. As for his pro comp, I'm thinking of a guy who can get up and down the floor in a hurry, who also has some length. Who did we go with, Coop? Who? Bones Highland is my pro comp for Blake Wesley. 10 more picks remaining here. Ty Washington, really smart and heady point guard, going to Denver to be a backup point guard at number 21, according to ESPN. Kennedy Chandler, number 22, to Memphis. Jaden Hardy, another player out of the G League Ignite, going to Brooklyn at 23. But that is the Philadelphia 76ers selection after Brooklyn had deferred the pick following that Ben Simmons-James Harden trade. So it'll be Hardy teaming up with James Harden to the Philadelphia 76ers. Nikola Jovic out of Mega, going to Milwaukee at 24, and then E.J. Liddell, one of my favorite players in this draft class, going 25 to the San Antonio Spurs. My pro comps here, Ty Washington, reminds me a lot of a player who was selected by the Atlanta Hawks last year in Sharif Cooper. I think he has more scoring ability, though. Kennedy Chandler. He is so reminiscent of Tyrese Maxey, a combo guard who's a little bit undersized, but is marvelous with his finishing ability around the rim. Jaden Hardy, Cam Thomas, because he can go scorched earth on the offensive side of the ball, but doesn't really do much else other than that. Jovic, Danilo, Gallinari. Both European players, both really good shooters from the outside. Not the best athletes, but they do have elite contested shot-making ability. And for E.J. Liddell, Paul Millsap. And Paul Millsap now, he's not good. He's washed. But he's a multi-time All-Star, and I do think E.J. Liddell can become that over time and help a playoff team right from the jump. Who is a first-round sleeper in this draft? I think E.J. Liddell is certainly up there. Jake LaRavia out of Wake Forest is getting some buzz right now. A lot of players who could be considered sleepers in this first round of this draft class. You want to name some second-round sleepers? You can do that as well in the comment section right now. Catching some Z's on some of these cats? Yeah, you let me know. Final selections here. Marion Beauchamp out of the G League Ignite, as they continue to do a great job of developing some of these first-round prospects. Now, if you watch G League basketball, it's a terrible product, but the players are pretty solid. Beauchamp going to Dallas at number 26. Tari, another Arizona Wildcat, going to the Heat at 27. And you know what Miami does with a bunch of young players? A tremendous job of developing them and inserting them into their system. The aforementioned Jake LaRavia going to Golden State at 28, which will help streamline his development if the Warriors hold on to that pick. Some rumors they might try to trade out of that selection. Caleb Houston out of Michigan going to Memphis at 29. And the final first-round pick here, another surprise, it's David Roddy out of Colorado State going to OKC at number 30. Final 5 pro comparisons for those players. Beauchamp, Matt Barnes can be a very good rotational player who's feisty. I actually think that Beauchamp a little bit more athletic than Matt Barnes, but I do get some shades there. Tari, Andre Iguodala. He can make winning plays and has really elite athleticism. LaRavia, Kyle Anderson. He's not going to blow you away with his athletic ability. He's a winning player, though. Caleb Houston, Chris Duarte, because Houston can become one of the better three-point shot makers in this draft class than David Roddy, DeJuan Blair. For a couple of years there with the San Antonio Spurs several years ago, Blair was a very, very good player on those championship-level teams. Once again, if you're excited for the 2022 NBA Draft, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Do not forget to subscribe. And in the lead up to the draft, going to continue to give you great content like this.